So are you ready to PR yourself? We'll remove the mystery from all things PR, and we'll discuss everything from our top strategies to tips and tricks and everything that you can utilize to further enhance your brand or your message. I've been in media, I'm a journalist, and I'm also a publicist. I am Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, and your host for PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Let's go. And welcome back to another episode of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. I am your host, Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, based out of Dallas, Texas, and I am back with another power-packed episode for you based off of something I heard that wasn't necessarily true, and I just wanted to clear up the rumors. So that is what this episode is all about. So if somebody has told you or you've heard around the rumor mill that blogging is dead, I am here today to let you know that it is not. And I'm going to give you all of my reasons why here in just a moment with my top 5 tips on how you can work this to your advantage from a DIY PR perspective. But before we do, man, there's just been so much going on in the news where it's just raising so many PR flags where I'm like, why would you do this? Like, this doesn't help your brand. And I've just been seeing everything from this whole Cracker Barrel rebrand fail, which I'm bringing on an expert to discuss that, all the way to Netflix just dropping all of these documentaries. And don't get me wrong, I love true crime. I love to be in people's business. I think that's why I'm so great at PR. But they have dropped some documentaries recently where I'm like, why would you agree to do this? So I was watching the Unknown Number one that talked about a young lady. Actually, it was 2 teenagers in high school that were getting catfished by this unknown number. And it was just like really, really like harassing. There was they started out as boyfriend and girlfriend. And then the text just kept coming to both of them. It ended up breaking them apart, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to give away the spoiler alert. But one of the particular characters that was involved in it, I'm just like, why would you even go on the documentary to give your side? Like, why would you talk at all? This is terrible. This is terrible, terrible, terrible advice. Whoever you took this from that said, you need to go on there and show your face. And it happened a couple of years ago. So I think for so many factors, it's re-traumatizing, right? So maybe this person got past the criminal part of when they were involved with these text messages and the harassment, and it's just going to start everything back up again. And then for the victims, so I'm just like, this just isn't a good PR move, but it was a very, very interesting story. I mean, I watched it all the way through. I had my opinions. I've been involved in discussions online. So yeah. But the one that's really been fascinating me the most is questioning why Jussie Smollett, or in the words of Dave Chappelle, he calls him Juicy Smollett. Why in the world would Juicy decide to do this documentary on Netflix to defend his position that he did not stage his hate crime that took place during the whole George Floyd movement? So if you aren't familiar with the case, Jussie Smollett is an actor. He was on the show Empire. He was like at his prime at that time, but he was also very involved in activism with, I don't know if he was actually involved with Black Lives Matters, but he was involved with social activism for the Black community. And there were circulating at one point in time after the whole George Floyd movement that he was racially attacked by alleged MAGA supporters in Chicago at like 2:30 a.m. in the morning in the Arctic cold after he left Subway. So that's just kind of the lead up to the whole thing. And when it happened and he posted about it on social media, because, people just can't help to post all of their traumatic events on social, which we have an episode for that. You can go back and we talk about oversharing on social media with Cynthia Neville. So please go back and listen to that one, because I think that this is why this has been so much of a fail for his brand. So he goes to social media, and of course, he's affiliated with Hollywood. So all the top actors and actresses are pouring out themselves like, oh my God, I cannot believe that this happened to you. We stand by you, blah, blah, blah. And some days go by, and Chicago police is like releasing evidence. And then the smoking gun was that these two brothers, one, I believe, was an actor on Empire. It appeared that they were allegedly hired by Jussie to beat him up so that he would appear as some sort of a martyr for this movement, right? And then you see it getting set up where it's like, maybe he didn't tell the truth. And to this day, there's still that question. I feel like there's people on the fence that believe Jussie, and there's other people that are like, he's full of it, right? Like, we do not believe him one bit. And there's so many things that I had already questioned, and I'm like, we could have just left it at that. Like, the buzz died down. Is he known publicly for possibly setting this thing up and it not being true? Absolutely. But the buzz has died down. He went to jail, but only for like a very short amount of time before he was released, I think either on bond or whatever. And then his case got thrown out. And it wasn't because he wasn't guilty or not guilty. It was on a technicality. So regardless, it's not in existence like that anymore. You could have just let it go. And here comes this documentary that brings it up all over again. And I just feel as though it did not do him any justice, because now I have the footage that I haven't seen before. We have the interviews with the Chicago police. We have eyewitnesses. Now, there were some conflicting eyewitness testimonies. And of course, we now hear from the two brothers that were involved. And it was like, so much of this was not a coincidence. And I personally do believe that he faked it for whatever reason. And I feel like narcissism with social media and narcissism with always trying to, be viewed in the public eye or get some sort of shine, whether it's negative or bad. We see it all the time in PR, where some people don't care how they get the attention. They just want the attention, this dopamine high. And I really feel like during that time where people were literally, they were getting harassed in the public for supporting Black Lives Matter, and they were out there and the activism was heavy. I don't know why allegedly he would want the shine back on him, but this is what happened, right? And I just feel like this documentary did not do him any justice. So looking at it from my PR mind, I'm like, why would you do this? Like, this makes you look even more guilty. Like, what are you doing? This did not clear your name. And I just don't know. Like, sometimes with clients, and I wonder, like, did you consult your publicist with this or your attorney? And sometimes you're going to have clients that are going to do what they want to do anyways. And he seems like that type of guy to me. Like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do against the advice of all others, because there was just too many different facts that were being weighed, where it was like there was more on the side of that he did do it to himself than there was on the side that, oh, maybe he's innocent. But I was reading the comments online. Comments seemed pretty divided, but there were some facts that they just did not overcome on my end, like the fact that when they traced the cameras from the guys leaving the scene, allegedly the two brothers, that the camera traced them literally all the way back to either their neighborhood or where their mom's house was. So it was like, how would the cameras, like if it wasn't them, if it was some other folks, like it was being alleged in the video, how ironic that it would be in the same neighborhood that they are in. Okay, that the Uber would drop them off in a familiar place to them. No one has overcome that online. Nobody's even really talking about it in some of the discussions online. And until you can overcome that fact, I think you did it. But from a PR perspective, sometimes being in the limelight or trying to clear your name when you think something is falsely done against you, like, yes, sometimes it's good, but in a situation like this, when everybody has moved on, where we've gone on to the Unknown Number documentary or some of the other things that have our attention right now, like this whole PJ Washington situation that's blowing up online, leave it alone. You've gotten deals. Apparently you just got signed to another record company. You're doing acting again. Life is back on track. Leave it alone. And now I feel like this documentary has definitely raised some eyebrows and some questions. But again, our attention span is just so crazy. We're on to another documentary. And now that we moved off an Unknown Number, whatever else Netflix uploads next, we're going to be on that train too. So that's just where my PR mind is right now. I'm interested to know your thoughts. So if you want to reach out and give me your thoughts, you can go ahead and go to Instagram at PR Yourself Podcast. Go in the DMs. Let me know what you think. Or you can contact me on LinkedIn at the Leah Frazier or on Instagram at the Leah Frazier and let me know what you think and I'll read your comments on the next episode. So today we will be talking all about blogging, why it is not dead. And I have 5 reasons why it's not, why you really need to be on your writing train. And please, 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 please don't do it all by AI. At least not 100%. Okay. Don't get lazy and do it all by AI, but you definitely need to be on this blogging train, especially if you're one of those folks that are trying to position yourself as a subject matter expert and or a thought leader. So you're definitely going to want to tune in. So you know what you do, go grab your paper, go grab your pen. And when we get back from a word from one of our dear partners, you're definitely going to want to be all ears on this discussion. So we will be back right after the break. When you're the bottleneck in every major decision, growth isn't just about working harder. It's about working smarter. Since 2002, Integrality has helped entrepreneurs improve their operations through consulting, accelerator programs, and AI-driven platforms like Capixi. Our expert team delivers strategic solutions that drive profitable growth and reclaim valuable time. Ready to build a business that runs without you? Visit integralityllc.com and start your evolution today. Welcome back from the break. We are going to just dive right into it. We are talking about why blogging is not dead. You know, I've heard a lot of people just putting it out there. I was actually on a webinar today where it was mentioned, and it wasn't mentioned out of any type of like malintent or anything like that. It was just said, and maybe there's just a lack of awareness. And I think we also have to reframe how we're categorizing blogging. I've done a whole TED Talk on this, so I will actually link to my TED Talk in the show notes, just because even though I did that TED Talk in 2018, I talked about kind of like this evolution of blogging, where we first started out with, you know, here's my day. And it was just this very casual conversation. It was like a Dear Diary. Here is what I have going on. And then it morphed into the fact of where like bloggers were then, you know, the new form of advertising, because they were generating these audiences and these communities where people were logging in or they were tuning into their websites to read these blogs every single day or every single week or whenever the blogger would publish. And then we morphed into the influencer movement, where there was bloggers that they had the web presence through their website, still blogging there. Some of them would even add on the email marketing that they were sending their blogs through. Every time it was published, it was going out through an email to their subscribers. And then they morphed into more of the visual element once Instagram really became a thing. And so we're seeing this evolution of what has been coined as blogging. And then you had the video creators who were vlogging. So that is video blogging. So that was their mechanism of getting their thoughts out, and curating these communities and these audiences. And so we've just seen this shift. And then we've had a shift from influencers to content creators where they create content and that's where they thrive and shine. And maybe it's not just content for themselves and their platforms, but they're doing it for other brands and other businesses. And it's more in depth where they're really more focused on the videos, the compilation of the videos, the editing. They really are creating content for engagement. And then I've seen this latest shift where it's gone from, okay, I'm not a content creator, I'm now a storyteller, which we have to be really careful about language. I'm not going to get into it here. But storytelling is completely different than, I'm just blogging, which is different than influencing, in my opinion, which is different than content creating. And so we've just seen this shift in how we have labeled, I guess, people who are communicating their thoughts on media. But I want to go back to blogging, and I want to take it back to blogging as in its written form, where we are writing articles or posts on a website. It's getting published. We're not really caring about grammar. We're just really publishing our thoughts. Again, as we look at the historical context of blogging, we see it kind of shift and die down a little bit once Instagram was introduced. And I've been in the world for a long time. I first started writing in 2009 for The Examiner, and I was more of on the journalism side because I really did do a lot of interviews and fact checking, and it was more of a professional style of writing than just kind of brain dumping my thoughts. But even still, I saw the shift even in that world when Instagram was introduced. And I actually had friends, because once you're in that world, depending on what your niche is, everybody gets invited to the same thing. So at that time, I was focused more on fashion. So it was the same fashion writers, the same fashion editors, the same fashion journalists and reporters. We were all at the same events. And then it became, with the fashion influencers that were coming and the fashion bloggers. And so we see this shift, or I personally saw a shift once Instagram was introduced. And I saw I don't know if I would call it a struggle, but I saw many of my colleagues having a choice. Like, look, this is a lot of time. It's a lot of time to now write my blog, take the pictures, upload the pictures on the blog and click publish, which is what originally they were doing. And now you're telling me there's this new platform, Instagram, where I'm uploading the same photos, but maybe the caption is different because I have shorter words that I have to work with. And many of my friends, I remember one of my friends telling me, well, I'm getting rid of my blog. Instagram is my blog. And I remember freaking out for her. She had just gotten or completed this deal with Kohl's at the time with Jennifer Lopez. They had flown her from Dallas to New York. She was really becoming that girl in fashion blogging, specifically for Latinas in the Dallas area. Like, she was known for it. And she had an amazing deal with Just Fab and Shoe Dazzle. She even brought me in on the deal. She's just super sweet. And I remember freaking out, like, we don't know what this Instagram machine is going to do. And you are just so willingly to give up your blog, which is a website that you own, that you have control over, for a platform that's owned by somebody else, that at any given moment it can shut down and you've lost all your content and you're shutting your blog down. So I freaked out for her. She did it anyways. And to this day, she's still, quote unquote, in her eyes, blogging on Instagram, which is fine. But I want to go back to the written form, just because as a business owner, you can't deny and you can't circumvent or go around SEO, search engine optimization. You really, at the end of the day, it's like a Malcolm X theory, like by any means necessary, I need to get found on the internet for who I am and what I do. And the only way that you really can continually get in those search results and up the search ranks is making sure that you're publishing relevant content around your keywords and the things that people search for you for. And typically, and I'm not going to get into an AI discussion or talk about how Google can read images and things like that. That's a very advanced discussion. Maybe I'll bring somebody else on to do. But generally, you do that via text, right? And so when we're talking about text, we're talking about written content on your websites. This is why I always advise businesses to have a blog on their site. When I go and I look at the numbers for PR Yourself with Leah Frazier and the podcast, and there was a 3-month period this year where I'm like, what in the hell? Like the numbers went through the freaking roof. I'm like, did I interview somebody that was like super popular? Like, what's happening? And I look at my data. So I'm like, where are people coming from? And they were coming from all over the world. And then how are they finding me? And you guys will not believe it. It was not iHeartRadio. It was not Apple Podcasts. It was not Spotify. 90% of my listeners were coming from searches from the web, which told me this. It told me that it mattered what I titled my podcast episode. It mattered what was in the caption. It mattered the blog post. So every interviewee that comes on this show, I try to do a blog post on the website about what the episode was about. And again, using those SEO keywords. So that was telling me that this text and this blogging and this publishing on the internet via these blogs is so critical and so important. And I was shocked to find out that 90% of how people find this podcast is through search engine or through the web. It was not through podcast channels. And that's just point blank, period. So moving forward from that context, for what I advise businesses, I always advise them to have their own blog on their website. If you're a thought leader, the same thing. Now, you can use ChatGPT to help you out. But as you will hear in one of our upcoming episodes from one of my other media experts, do not use it for 100% where the whole thing is 100% AI. You're going to want to make sure that it's a blend between the two voices. I'm not saying don't use AI to help you because I know we're super busy as business owners, but it cannot be 100% AI, okay? Because you don't want a news journalist or somebody on your site, they're wanting to use you as an expert or a resource and they run it through their system and it's like, this is all artificial intelligence. I don't know if this person really is a thought leader, okay? So you're definitely gonna have to think about that. But it's super important that we give blogging the credit that it deserves. So no, it is not dead. You should be blogging on your website. Even if it's once a month, I would encourage you to push yourself. Maybe it's twice a month. Blogging on your website as a business, or if you're a personal brand. Either way, you should be publishing content and text on the web, and you should be doing it consistently, and you should be doing it strategically where you're using the keywords of what your thought leadership entails. If you're a thought leader, whatever your subject matter expertise is, or if you know the keywords or what people will be searching to find you on the internet, your blog post should be including those words because Google is scrubbing the web every night trying to figure out when somebody Googles, let's say you're a cake company in Minneapolis, Best Cakes Minneapolis, you're going to want to be able to be found for cakes in Minneapolis. And one of the ways to do that, to get the web to recognize you as that source, is to constantly have text from a reputable site that categorizes you with those keywords. And one of the ways that you can speed up that process is by publishing that activity or publishing that on your own through a blog. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you the tea. So the newest way, specifically in thought leadership, that we are seeing the new blogging, I'm going to say 10.0, because I feel like blogging has morphed so much over the years. So blogging 10.0 is through Substack. And everybody and their mama is doing Substack right now. So what is Substack? In my interpretation of not only being a consumer of information on Substack, but I'm working on publishing content for both the PR side and my wellness business. I love Substack because it actually allows you to curate your online community, but you can really put your genuine, truthful thoughts out there, and you're not getting canceled and like literally creamed by people if you were to do the same on Instagram or even on LinkedIn or even on Facebook or your other social media challenge or channels. I really feel like Substack allows the user to put their genuine thoughts, their genuine takes on issues. It allows them to be a little bit more authentic because the audience there just seems a little bit more mature. And I don't know any other way to describe it. So I have been advising clients to start their Substacks, do your thought leadership there. If something comes out in the news and it's relevant to your subject matter expertise, please make sure you're posting a Substack. Now, I had a client that posted the other day, and I'm in this testing phase. And I'm like, oh, I don't like the way it looked when you posted. I almost recommend you can dump from your website into Substack, but I almost recommend publishing directly into Substack because you can see the entire article, the entire post. As I was reading through the fine print on Substack, there was an agreement that you sign when you sign up that says that you completely own the content. And I was like, yes. So it doesn't seem at this point that if anything happens to Substack, you're going to lose your words, you're going to lose your IP. There was an agreement that that you agreed to that says that like you own it. We're just giving you a platform to publish it, which I thought was absolutely amazing. So Substack, there's a lot of journalists on there. There's a lot of editors on there. There's a lot of thought leaders. You can follow folks based on different niches or industries that you're interested in. So I follow a lot of folks in social and racial justice. I follow a lot of folks in wellness and self-care and mental health. I follow people who like books. I follow some of my favorite authors, and it's almost like getting a peek inside of their mind. Like, what do they think about this? And again, the Substack audience is a little bit more mature. So when you see the answers or the replies to some of the things that they're saying, it's not that negative, toxic energy that you'll get on Instagram if you, heaven forbid, put your opinion out there. It's a platform that really appreciates deep thought, whether you agree with it or not. And I think that's what I love about it the most. Now, one of the things that I did have written down about Substack that we can talk about a little bit later is that let's just say you are a little bit nervous about really putting your thoughts out there. And I want to save this for my subscribers because they can handle what I'm about to say. You can place some of your content behind a paywall. Hey, if you really want to know my thoughts on this, pay me. If you pay this, whatever, and you can set the price on Substack. Once you pay that, you can get access to this, whatever I just wrote, this blog post, my thoughts, my feelings, whatever it is. So love, love, love. So I feel like Substack is blogging 10.0. It's amazing for thought leaders for 5 reasons. Number 1, building community. Facebook, I would say over the last couple of years, the communities just haven't been the same. And I know that the engagement has gone down in Facebook communities. I'm not sure if and I'm not a Facebook expert, but I do know that that has happened because I saw many professionals and thought leaders go over to Skool, Skool. And so they went to school in order to control their communities, because some of these folks have built communities of 40,000, 50,000, 100,000 people, and they're posting and nobody is seeing it. So I've seen many leaders transition folks over to Skool. So imagine if you had some of those guys on Substack where you can really just write your thoughts. You can blog about the things that you want to blog. You can dictate your industry. Like, I'm seeing this and this is what I feel, or this is the statistics, or whatever comes to you. It's amazing to curate your community. And Substack is doing it in a way to where your content reaches outside of people that you know. And remember, if y'all don't remember anything, when I was talking about LinkedIn and all the changes that LinkedIn used to have way, way, way back when, LinkedIn used to reward people who were like first to try out their new offerings. So if you tried out a new feature in LinkedIn, they would reward you with all this engagement and all these views. Substack is catching on, but it is a platform that if you post something, and again, if you're in those communities where people value whatever niche or industry or genre that you're writing in, they're going to show it to other folks or have it fall into their feed. And that is a perfect way to try to garner a new audience for free, just by using your thought leadership and posting consistently. So building community is huge, and you're doing it through blogging, okay? And I want to preface this as well. Sometimes people hear the word blogging and they think, oh man, I got to write 1,000 words. I ain't got time for that. Substack is so different. One day you can have an article that's 1,000 words because you're really getting it out. And the next day you could write a post just about your thoughts that takes 3 weeks. Not 3 weeks. I'm so sorry. That takes 3 sentences. So really just putting all of that into context. I don't want you to think that this is time intensive. It's worth it, but it's not like I have to blog every week and I'm blogging 1,000 words every single time. You're not. You can do 1,000-word posts on a Monday, and then on Wednesday, if something pops into your mind, you can post the picture, and you can just write 3 sentences about it, and that could be your thought leadership for the day. So that's number one, the building community, okay? Remember sitting in your office dreaming of creating a home that's truly a sanctuary, where every sunrise held promise and every sunset brought peace? As life evolves, imagine waking up in a luxury tiny home among towering pine trees with a peaceful pond and open meadows, just minutes from the city that built your success. At Tiny Renaissance Homes, accomplished professionals rediscover what truly matters. Live happy, live healthy, live tiny. Experience glamping retreats, wellness activities, and smart investment opportunities. Your renaissance awaits. Visit tinyrenaissancehomes.com for more information. Number 2, the revenue stream. Like I said, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a small business owner, we're all about generating income and having different revenue streams. And so with Substack, you can place things behind a paywall. You can build a subscription. So it's kind of like Patreon, and it's kind of like, all of those other platforms where it's like, it's behind a paywall. You have to pay to see it. Now, what I've seen as successful on Substack is writers that will kind of tease you a little bit. They'll give you some of the good stuff. And then maybe you're so into it, the next thing that's good, they hide it behind the paywall. And you're like, I've got to read their thoughts on this. Or in my situation, I follow a lot of journalists, a lot of editors, a lot of reporters. And it is my way to connect with them for PR so that I can potentially pitch them for my clients. And so sometimes I just want to get in their head, like, what do they like to cover? What are they thinking about these issues? How can I support them? And so I will go behind the paywall in order to generate that support, or it's just that important for me to try to connect with them on behalf of my client. So Substack does allow for you to create paid content on their platform versus, when we first started blogging, there wasn't this whole hide it behind a paywall thing. It was more of if we did a sponsored post with a brand or an organization, they paid us for it, but everybody got to see it. It's not where we had so much control over what we wanted audiences to see. So number 2 is the revenue stream. Number 3, again, the SEO. We have already talked about that, but I really want to drive it home. With Substack, your ideas, your blog posts, your articles, whatever you write is still searchable and can still be found on the web, which I think is so important. All right. Being found in search engine optimization should be like at the top of business owners' minds. And if you're a small business owner and you can't afford an SEO expert or you can't afford somebody in digital marketing, the least you can do is make sure you're constantly publishing new and consistent information on the web that's relative to your search keywords, how somebody would find you. All right. That's the least that could be done. And let me tell you, with these new LLMs, these new language models and AI search engines, and you have to go back, but we do have an episode about Google's AI results and how it's important now on that first page for you to come up in Google's AI search results when somebody's looking for something that's relative to you. And in a future interview that I'm going to publish soon, we talked about like what are the characteristics or what are the qualifications to come up in those search results, but you're knocking yourself out the game if you ain't even publishing consistently to get found, to be put in the AI search results. And so making sure, whether it's through Substack or through your company's blog or through somebody else's blog, that is a way to really take advantage of SEO and boost yourself in those search engine results. Number 4, another reason why I'm saying go for it with blogs and specifically with Substack is that when your favorite folks or whoever you're following on Substack publish, you get a newsletter that does a roundup, or you get a newsletter specifically from that individual that tells you what they've published. And I love that. So it's like having your own built-in newsletter for your community. Again, it's just another touch point. And if you're thinking about it from the perspective of being a thought leader or perhaps a business, maybe you have services you have to sell, maybe you have products that you need to sell at some point, or digital products at some point that you need to sell. This newsletter and this blog through Substack is just another touch point for you to be able to connect with your audiences so that when it is time for you to sell, you've given them so much value, you've given them so much knowledge, you've helped them out so much that they're ready to do business with you. One of the other things that I also like about Substack and this blogging mechanism is that you can blog and you can hyperlink out to your stuff. You can hyperlink out to your products, hyperlink out to your services, hyperlink out to your website, your social media, whatever it is. So if people start on Substack, you can send them off platform somewhere else and you're not getting penalized for it. So this is just another way to funnel people into your audience. This is another way, again, because Substack allows you to reach people outside of your known ecosystem. So you could be reaching people in Germany and Russia or wherever. This is another way to filter them in if you do so strategically. So that's number 4, it being a newsletter or a blog or another way for you to hyperlink out to your other external sources. And number 5, because this is PR Yourself with Leah Frazier, I find Substack and this blogging through Substack as a way to find journalists who may be interested in my content or what I have to say. And so it's just another platform to follow these guys, see what their thoughts are, see what they're publishing, but hopefully if you have consistent posts on Substack, or you're blogging, or you're creating these articles, they don't have to ask you for 50 million receipts when you reach out to them to get featured. They can just go on your Substack and see what you've been talking about. It's like your credibility and your proof right there for them. And like I said, so many journalists, reporters, and editors are on Substack for many reasons that I can't disclose, but they're hanging out there. Like, it is their playground and they are freaking loving it. I know in an earlier episode, we talked about how Blue Sky was taking off, but I am not seeing the trajectory of Blue Sky taking off as far as PR and connecting with journalists as much as I'm seeing Substack. So if I were to put everything in order with journalist connection, I would say Substack, LinkedIn is still great. And I'm still not convinced on Blue Sky. If somebody wants to convince me, you know how to reach me, but I'm just not there. So we went through 5 reasons or 5 ways that this blogging is not dead and why you should be blogging. And if you are trying out Substack, and I'm not getting paid by them, you guys, this is just something that I've been monitoring literally for has to be the last year. And I'm seeing a lot of folks benefiting from it, and it just keeps getting better and better. And I'm like, I had to tell you guys about it. I had another episode planned for today. And when I logged into that webinar and somebody said blogging was dead, I was like, oh no, I have to address this. So you'll get the other interview next week. So 5 things, just going through it one more time. 1, allowing yourself to build community, and remembering that on Substack, it's a little less grueling, a little less judgmental, and more mature audiences who value different, diverse leaders in thought. Okay. Number 2, it allows you to build another revenue stream, because you can have paid subscriptions, you can hide your content behind paywalls and all that fun stuff. 3, SEO, 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 Substacks, newsletters, blogs, all of that can be found on the web. And again, at the end of the day, we're just trying to be found. We're trying to be found for our services, our products. If we've got to write a blog post once every 2 weeks in order to do it, we're going to do it because it's worth it. 4, it creates another newsletter, and again, another touch point with your audiences. So through their newsletter, whenever you publish, having a touch point so that at the point that you want to sell, you can convert some of those subscribers over into paid customers. And remember, in marketing, sometimes it takes 5 to 7 touch points with your audience before they can be committed to purchasing from you. So add that Substack newsletter as another touch point to nurture your audience so that when you're ready to sell, it is on and popping. And number 5, blogging on Substack, creating community on Substack, and following other folks on Substack is a great way to find journalists or others who may be interested in your content and who can write features on you. So all of the journalists hang out there, the editors, the reporters, they love it. I've heard it from their mouths, and I've heard why they're on there for other reasons that I can't disclose, but it is a great playground for you to play in if you're trying to PR yourself. So that's all I have for you for today. I hope that you found this episode super valuable. If you sign up for Substack, go ahead and let me know. I am on there. I'm under 2 accounts, one for my wellness for Leah Heals and the other one for PR under Leah Frazier. You can go ahead, send me your link, add me, however you want to do it. I'm going to start publishing content within the next week or so. And so I'm just looking forward to being on this playground with all of you guys and seeing where it heads. But no, blogging is not dead. It's very much relevant. And you want to be the producer of the content, not always just the consumer. You want to produce and add content into that funnel. And another way to do that is through blogging, okay? So you know what to do. If you like this episode, you're going to like, you're going to comment, you're going to share, you're going to send it out to people that you know need exactly what was mentioned today. They need that swift kick in the ass to say, here's another way for you to get found on the internet. I'm sorry, it's another thing that you have to do, but it's amazing for marketing. And oh, by the way, it's free. And oh, by the way, potentially you can get paid from it. So definitely share this out with folks that you think will need it. We're here to help. If you have episode suggestions, you know what to do. Go to Instagram, reach out to us at PR Yourself Podcast, or you can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, the Leah Frazier, or on Instagram at the Leah Frazier. And I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. And you know what to do. Just keep it locked in. And until next time.